Welcome back. Today we're getting into a brand new explainer, and we are going to be exploring the surprisingly heavy psychological burden of modern choices and the quarter-life crisis. More specifically, we're going to figure out how our constant, relentless striving for the absolute best can, well, paradoxically make us deeply unhappy. Have you ever felt that, I don't know, crushing anxiety from trying to build an absolutely perfect life? You know what I mean? Choosing the perfect career, finding the perfect partner, moving to the perfect city. We all tend to think that if we just try a little bit harder, we'll inevitably hit that ideal. But is that actually true?
Okay, let's dive into this. The classic symptoms of the quarter-life crisis usually hit us right in our 20s and 30s. After this super clear structure of school and university, we suddenly collide with this crushing weight of endless possibilities. Society puts a ton of pressure on us, making us feel like fake adults. And this endless stream of options, it just generates a constant, exhausting loop of self-doubt and serious FOMO.
Which brings us to part one, the illusion of the perfect choice. Let's look at exactly why having more doesn't always mean things are better. So modern society constantly feeds us this idea that more choice equals more freedom and therefore more happiness. But psychologist Barry Schwartz introduced what he calls the paradox of choice, proving that an endless array of options actually paralyzes us. It's a psychological trap. Think about it. You open Netflix, right? You read the descriptions, you watch a few trailers, you spend literally an hour scrolling through the catalog, and ultimately, you watch absolutely nothing. Your brain is just too exhausted from all the options to actually pick one. Moving on to part two, decision-making styles, specifically maximizers versus satisficers. So meet the maximizer. This is a person who is basically trapped in a cage of their own impossibly high standards. The maximizer feels this acute, almost painful need to explore absolutely every available alternative before making a decision, simply because they are completely terrified by the thought that a better option might be hiding out there somewhere. They rely heavily on external validation, constantly comparing their choices with the status and opinions of everyone else, and in the process, they totally forget to listen to what they actually want. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the direct comparison between maximizers and another type of decision maker, the satisficer. While maximizers completely exhaust themselves with a massive cognitive load trying to find the absolute ideal, satisficers just look for an option that meets their personal baseline standards. Basically, they look for good enough. And because of that, satisficers experience significantly less regret and walk around with much higher life satisfaction and optimism. All right, part three, the cost of perfection, or really the hidden, toxic consequences of always striving for the absolute ideal. Get this, research shows one genuinely shocking fact. College graduates with pronounced maximizing tendencies actually land jobs with a starting salary that is, on average, 20% higher than their satisficer peers, a full 20%. Now, you might be thinking, well, there it is, proof that maximizing works. But hold your horses, don't celebrate just yet. Because even though maximizers objectively earn more money, subjectively, they are significantly less happy at those jobs. Why? Because the very second they make a choice, they immediately start second-guessing it. Could I have found an even better job? Did I settle? Their objective career success is totally overshadowed by a heavy, miserable sense of regret. And hey, this isn't just abstract theory. Looking at the research data here, this factor analysis visually demonstrates how maximizing patterns, things like constant comparison and inflated standards, are statistically linked to deep, severe regret. Scientists have proven for sure that this specific decision-making strategy correlates with lowered self-esteem and depressive rumination. It literally makes us miserable. Naturally, all of this informational and emotional overload leads straight to analysis paralysis. This is that awful state where the anxiety of making a potential mistake is so overwhelming that you just freeze. You freeze in your tracks. You read the 100th review for a coffee maker but still don't buy it, or you're just too afraid to apply for that new job because you fear the unknown. It stops any forward movement completely. And this brilliantly illustrates how all of this triggers active avoidance mechanisms. It's so crucial to understand that procrastination here isn't just laziness. No, it is an active defense mechanism protecting your exhausted psyche from overload. Often, hiding right behind this is what psychologists call the Jonah complex. That's an unconscious fear, not just of failure, but actually a fear of success itself, and the heavy responsibility that inevitably comes with it. Why can't I just start doing something? People in the midst of a quarter-life crisis ask themselves this exact question over and over and over again.
They torture themselves over missed opportunities, which only deepens their own sense of helplessness. We literally end up turning our lives into a waiting room, just sitting around waiting for the perfect moment that's never going to come.
Which takes us to part 4, from search to commitment. Let's take a look at James Marsh's identity status model.
Because a way out of this maze absolutely does exist. Psychologist James Marsh describes the development of our personality through the lens of 2 specific states. The first is identity moratorium. This is basically a limbo where you endlessly explore options, which naturally generates colossal anxiety. On the other side is identity achievement, a state of real confidence, resilience, and high self-esteem. But to get there, you must complete the phase of endless searching and take on firm commitments, meaning you actually have to make a definitive choice.
And that brings us to our final section, part 5, the power of good enough, the ultimate antidote to decision fatigue. So the crucial point is, to have the courage to make that choice, you need to develop the habits of a satisficer. Here are 4 practical, actionable steps to reclaim your autonomy. First, artificially limit your options. Second, once you find an option that meets your basic needs, choose it. Literally, just stop looking. Third, commit fully to that choice and stop looking back in the rearview mirror. And finally, evaluate the outcome on its own merits, rather than constantly comparing it to someone else's highlight reel.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. In a world completely overflowing with endless alternatives, trying to find the absolute perfect option is a mathematically guaranteed path to disappointment. Perhaps the real secret to true psychological well-being isn't about making the absolute best choice out of everything in the world, but about making a good choice and then doing the work to make it the best one personally for you. So, are you ready to trade the paralyzing illusion of perfection for real, tangible happiness? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.